How long does it take to start losing something? To start losing fitness or strength or muscle mass? To start losing skill? Hi, friends. Welcome back to Bend and Snatch with me, Penny, your favourite queer strength coach, demystifying the gym one post at a time. So this episode is number 28, I think. And today I want to talk to you about what happens when you stop training. Recently, I had a minor surgery on my nose to open up my airways, and I was told to take 2 weeks off work. And while I could only really get away with taking 1 week off work, I figured I could at least take 2 weeks off the gym. Stop training, give my body the best chance to recover. They told me not to let my blood pressure go up, so ideally, I'd rather not burst any blood vessels in my face. So no training for me for 2 weeks while I recuperate. Now, unfortunately, the week before that, I subluxed my ankle. And that was the first time that happened in years. So I had a week off running and weightlifting leading up to the surgery. But in that week, at least, I did lots of bench pressing and bicep curls. So something was happening, at least, And then in May, I was away for 3 weeks in Brazil, where we went to the gym a bit, went for a few runs, but frequency was much, much lower than it had been before I went away. Before I went away, I was training loads. I was in like one of the best runs of my life, I think. Probably training 8 times a week, which included 4 Olympic weightlifting sessions and 3 runs. I have yet to return to that. Maybe one day I will. We're just going to see how we go. So over the weekend, I did a relatively easy 5-kilometer walk with my partner and the dogs. And it's a walk that I've done a bunch of times before. And it felt much harder than usual. By the time we got back to the car, I was absolutely pooped. Halfway through my shower when we got back home, I was so tired. I had to sit down and I ended up just having a bath instead. I'm pretty sure that is the first time that has ever happened. And I'm going to assume it's because my body is still recovering from the surgery. It's been like a week and a half now, I think, since the operation. But that got me thinking, how long does it take to start losing muscle? And what are the impacts on performance from some time away? But also, how long does it take to start losing fitness? So in this 2013 meta-analysis from Busquet et al., sorry if I butchered the name, they looked at over 100 different studies trying to answer that question. 2013 was a long time ago, but I couldn't find a bigger meta-analysis, so this is what we're going with. Researchers found that maximal strength was mostly unaffected up to about 28 days of training cessation, which means if I take 2 full weeks off from training to recover from surgery, my max strength won't actually be affected. And even if we account for the week of just training like a bro while my ankle recovered, 3 weeks is still less than 28 days. Who says gays can't do maths? Therefore, still nothing to worry about, which is obviously a relief. A relief for me, a relief for anyone listening, watching, who has also been forced to have some time off. Now, after 28 days, maximal strength gains do begin to tank. There were also some losses in maximal power, particularly around the 113 to 224 days of training cessation mark, which again is a lot more days than 3 weeks, by the way. In fact, 224 days is more than 7 months of no training whatsoever. Muscle mass decreased non-significantly within 20 days of training cessation and then decreased back to baseline values following 7 to 20 weeks of training cessation. And this was from an article in Detraining in Strong by Science, which I'm going to link in the show notes below. If you've ever stopped doing cardio, you've probably noticed that fitness seems to disappear a whole lot faster than muscle and strength does. And it's annoying as hell. So according to this article that I found in Runner's World, fitness starts to be impacted after about 5 days of not training. That actually blew my mind, because what do you mean 5 days? 5 days? 5 days? A week has 7 days. Does that mean running once a week is a really inefficient way to build any sort of fitness? I mean, I'm sure it's still better than nothing. But if every 5 days all the things start to decrease, then each run you're doing is just bringing you back to baseline. Maybe. I don't know. I spent much of last year only running once a week for like the first 6 months of me running to build capacity to be able to run. So like once a week is still doing something for sure, whatever Runner's World says. I'm just going to read you what Runner's World said, actually. So this is what they say starts to happen after 5 days. Some changes occur beyond about 5 days, which over time start to impact your fitness. Your blood plasma volume starts to decrease, which leads to a decrease in cardiac output. In short, less oxygenated blood to your muscles. After about 10 days, we start to see a knock-on reduction in VO2 max between 4 and 5% after 2 weeks. So that's probably added to me absolutely powering down in the shower after a gentle hike with the dogs on Sunday, if we're honest, isn't it? So what do you do when life throws these obstacles in your path and your training just goes out the window? Well, firstly, don't panic. It's not that big a deal, unless, I guess, you're getting paid to train. It's not worth getting that stressed about. You just have to figure out what it is that you can do. What I do when I get injured is just do something else, just for a bit, while the injury sorts itself out. Sometimes that includes some physio. Sometimes it just includes resting that muscle or joint. Sometimes it's just doing the same thing, but less heavy or fast or long, whatever. When I'm injured, training is still happening. There'll still be training, it just won't look the same. So when I tore my hamstring, I just didn't do any front splits for a while it healed, or any sprints while it healed, but I still did other things. So I was still doing some cardio, easier stuff, some running, gentle runs. Was I doing gentle runs? No, I was running on the cross trainer. And then weightlifting was still fine. I didn't do any really heavy full range RDLs for a while either. But otherwise, everything else stayed the same. You don't have to stop everything when you get an injury, usually. You can usually still do something. So what I'm doing now, post-surgery, is mostly waiting. I'm just mostly doing nothing. I did absolutely nothing for the first week. And then the second week, I did a bit of mobility stuff while I was in the gym because I was there anyway. And then there were also some little walks with the dogs and then that big one yesterday. And I'm just waiting for the 2 weeks to be up, mostly because I don't want my face to bleed. And then I'll get back to it slowly, not all at once. The plan has to be an easy few weeks to build stuff back up and take stock of where my body is at. There's no point rushing this process. You can't just rush a return to training, because if you go straight back into where you left off, that's actually often where people end up getting hurt, because your body isn't as capable of the tasks at hand as it was when you were last doing them. You can't be expecting yourself to perform at the same level having had this time off. So you just have to test the waters. Do lighter lifts, fewer sets, fewer training days, shorter training days, shorter runs. You have to give yourself a chance to catch up. So my plan on Wednesday, which is the 2-week mark, congratulations me, is to do some really easy snatches, probably with the empty bar, maybe put the 5s on, which for me, that would make it like 50 to 70%-ish of my max, and just see how they feel. Maybe do a few sets of squats at 50 to 70%. That maths is totally a lie. What would 15 kilos actually be? Maybe like 40 to 70%. Anyway, light work. And then do some presses, and the presses will probably be heavier. They don't have to be as light because it's just going to be my shoulders. And then I'm just going to see how I feel on Thursday. So on Thursday, I'll decide based on how I'm feeling on the day if I can run or not. And I might just go to JD and do some time on the cross trainer instead, so I can get some cardio in without the impact, ease myself in that way. There's no one way to return to training after an injury or a surgery, or returning after whatever reason you had time off for was. You just have to start and see what stuff feels like and take it from there. And you have to give yourself the grace and the patience to accept that you might not be as good at stuff as you were the last time you were doing them. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. What matters more is that you've come back, because that's actually the hard bit. It's really hard to come back and feel like you've gone backwards. It's really hard to do the hard things again that you fought so hard for to be less hard, and now they're even more hard again. Especially with fitness. With lifting, it's fine. You just make it lighter, but it feels the same. But with running, you just run slower, but then it takes twice as long. Or you run for half as long and then you run half as far. It's hard. It's really hard. And if you can just go back and do it anyway, it's going to be worth so much. So consider this my little pep talk. Is it for me? Is it for you? I guess it's for all of us. It's hard when your routine gets messed up, and it takes a lot of effort to get it back. It also is really hard to maintain a really high frequency of something when real life happens around you. And being able to adapt the plan as you go along is important. And that will allow you to train more when you have the time and inclination, and then be able to just train enough when you don't have the time or inclination. That's huge. Because if you can't train every day, but you can train some of the days, just do that. Let me know how you cope with time away from your sport in the comments below, and be sure to like, save, and share this episode with anyone that you think might like it. I always appreciate any support. I always also appreciate hearing from you guys. It makes it a lot more fun when you reply to me, you know? So until next time.